Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Golf Business Live, powered by Supreme Golf. I am your host, Michael Williams, bringing you the best information about the best game and the best business that we know, which is, of course, golf. We have a great show for you today. I want to first say I'm still glowing from the time we just spent at the multi-course owner retreat in Monterey, California. Just recently, it's always a pleasure just to be in that part of the world. But to be there with that group of people who are so instrumental to both the past, present, and future of the game, to hear their opinions, their outlook, it's just a fascinating time. So thanks again to everyone who made it and to everyone who made it happen. It was special, as always. If you have a chance to do it, as my boy Ferris Bueller once said, if you have the means, I highly recommend it. We're going to start the show today with our Inside Business segment. And joining us is someone who is a very familiar face in the golf world. He is, and especially on the West Coast in California, he has done so much for so long that to list his accomplishments would take the entire segment. So we'll just proceed with the welcome and get on with the conversation. Please welcome the Director of Governmental Affairs at the Southern California Golf Association, Mr. Craig Kessler. Craig, welcome to Golf Business Live. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing just fine. How are you today?
I'm great because I'm sitting here in my studio. I am not in a hotel or in an airport, and that's a good thing. It's tough out there. It's not easy getting around from place to place. But yeah, doing well. And it's actually in California, not Southern California, but as I said, Northern California or Central California for the multi-course owner retreat. So the next time I get out, I will definitely venture south into your territory, my friend.
Good. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. So before we get going with some of the particulars of your business and your work, I wonder if you could just give a couple of minutes of attention to the Southern California Golf Association. Just talk a little bit about its mission and vision and who you serve, the sort of basics, SCGOA 101.
Well, the SCGA is a traditional state or regional golf association. We call them AGAs now, Allied Golf Associations. It is 124 years old now. It's been around a long time. We just passed the 200,000 member mark, about 13 or 1,400 golf clubs. 460 of them are actually green grass facilities, and the rest are affiliate clubs or clubs without real estate. That's how we get up to the large number of 200,000. And I'd say if we could quantify a mission, it's anything and everything doing with the long-term sustainability and viability of golf as a game. More on the game aspect. We're a nonprofit. Yes, we do a lot of work on behalf of facilities and on behalf of the business of the game. But at the end of the day, our members and our constituents are those who support the game, the 200,000 or more by implication of those we'd like to have as members. Who open up their wallets and make the game possible for the owners and managers that are part of the NGCOA.
Yeah, interesting. And again, it's such a large constituency. You talked about the numbers and scope when we're talking about Southern California, obviously one of the most influential golf communities in the country, if not the world. And a large part of operating a golf facility in this world is dealing with the government, whether that's state, local, or federal. Being here in Washington, D.C., very familiar with how all of those things, policies and laws and things, statutes, tie in with the operation of the golf course. So, well, first, I just want to send out a congratulations to you, because I noted that you, at the last Golf Business Conference, you did accept the Champion Award for your efforts. And first, I want to say thank you for those efforts and congratulations on that award.
Well, thanks for the award, and thanks to Jay Karen. He let me say a few remarks in front of the crowd, and I always enjoy that. So I was able to convey a few points from the other side of the country.
Well, it's really our pleasure to get your thoughts. And I just want to talk about, I have Assembly Bill 1910. I know, like, from working with government folks, like you get to the shorthand where you can talk about, a bill. It's like, hey, number X, number 17 is going through. So I know this is a term that's very familiar to you. But if you could describe to the audience what Assembly Bill 1910 is and why it's important in your work.
Well, first I'll say it was, but it could come back in another form. It was two bills, one in 2021 and another in 2022, AB 672 and then AB 1910, really identical bills it would have put up hundreds of millions of dollars in free money, otherwise known as subsidies, to municipalities and developers to take their municipally owned golf courses, publicly owned golf courses, and chop them up would expedite the process, chopping them up into housing complexes with a certain affordability quotient. Well, we happen to know that exactly 22.3% of the golf courses in California are publicly owned. So this would have been a huge shock to the overall golf community in the state. Those are the developmental facilities, the feeder facilities, and those municipal golf courses that would have been put in jeopardy were not the ones you may know about 1,000 miles away. It wouldn't be the Torrey Pines or the Rancho Parks or any. It would be the little developmental ones in those areas of the state which are strapped for housing and also strapped for green spaces and parks, and would have been a feeding frenzy on them. And without those, we figured that approximately 90% of all the programs that go to diversifying and growing the base of the game are done on those facilities that would have been in jeopardy. So to cut to a shorthand, it's really difficult. Golf has invested so much for so long in growing and diversifying the game. But if you don't have the sites to grow and diversify it, you have no chance. That's right. This was a really, we throw around that phrase existential challenge. This really was an existential challenge. I'm happy to report that in 2022 we beat back the legislation, and early enough in the process that we think that and in a way that engaged real live golfers for the first time in the history of California. In other words, there are over 3 million persons who play the game. And the lobbying efforts of the game in previous times had always been these insider affairs, parsing details, dealing with inputs or pesticides or land use policies or tax policies, or very much water policies. But in this particular case, it was we unleashed constituents on their elected leaders, and that mattered a great deal. Where you may be thinking that it's coming back is the day after Independence Day, July 5th, we woke up to an editorial in something called the Southern California News Group, which is a series of about 9 or 10 newspapers. Los Angeles Daily News, Riverside Press Enterprise, Long Beach Press Telegram, Pasadena Star News, South Bay Daily News, a number of Orange County Register, huge. Probably their circulation taken together is greater than the Los Angeles Times. And they lobbied, specifically advocated for resurrecting AB 1910 in the next session of the legislature. So always tells me as a veteran of this that these things don't happen by accidents. We discovered there were powerful political forces, far more powerful than golf, that lobbied for AB 1910, not just some components of the real estate industry, but an organization that began in California and is now national called, the acronym is YIMBY, Yes in My Backyard. They are fierce housing advocates. Much of what they do is good work. And the thing that was most insidious about 1910 was that it singled golf and only golf out from all of the other parkland activities and open space activities for targeting. So to put it in perspective, what we were fond of reminding office holders and media was that if you took all 1,000 golf courses in the state of California, which is almost 1,000 miles long, all of them, and many of them are in remote areas, and you put them together and added up their acreage, it's 144,000 acres. If you just take the amount of property that is permanently taken out of development circulation within the city of Los Angeles and the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, it's 155,000 acres. Now, that is not an argument for developing those acres. I didn't suggest that for a moment. But putting it in the context that somehow you would destroy an important sector in the state of California, and really long-term, you'd almost kill the game of golf, because most of those persons who are at the country clubs today were not to the country club born, but began their golf life, even as juniors, at these municipal facilities. So putting it in that context, we think we made an impact, carried a day, beat back what I think is much better organized and much better funded political forces. But will it come back in 2024? I think we have to. An editorial like that tells us that maybe some people are working to make that happen.
Yeah, keep your day job. I think, we are familiar with these zombie bills. You can injure them, but, they somehow keep coming back. As you say, when their interests that are interested and money to be made. You make a very good point about the types of courses that would suffer the most. And here I always call them the big funnel golf courses. These are the ones where people come in who are coming to the game for the first time, returning to the game, after raising a family and wanting to get into it again. These young millennials I'm always talking about that are wanting to be to get their exercise and entertainment at golf, who've discovered it, during the pandemic. And we're trying to keep those audiences. They come into it at these entry level golf courses, the big funnel into golf. You talked about engaging the public. And full disclosure, I've just begun doing some work with SCGA on the diversity and an inclusion component. And were those the voices that you brought to bear? Were some of those people who are saying, I'm just getting started, or I may never have a chance if this type of legislation goes through?
Well, I think those were certainly the forces that you get very limited opportunities to testify at committee hearings. And I would have to say that Latino Golfers Association, whose president and founder sits on the board of directors of SCGA, certainly we led with those things, but we were happy to have anyone and everyone. You'd be surprised who plays golf and who may not want to publicly say anything, but privately getting an email from their golf association that suggests that perhaps they should to contact their legislator. Some of them are quite politically influential. They may serve on community college boards and things like that, just to cite an example. So we led with all of it. And I think we knew during the first hearing on AB 672 that we had that our membership had responded, because then Assembly Member Richard Bloom from Santa Monica said the following, and I'm quoting him verbatim: I actually don't have any municipal golf courses in my district. However, I have a lot of municipal golfers. How do I know? I think I heard from every one of them over the holidays. Right. So we knew that was a gamble. Golfers play golf to have a good time, not to get an alert suggesting they click a button and they might want to share a message with their assembly member. And yet they responded on this one because this one was of such visceral interest. And I think it surprised people.
When we talk about it here again, on the federal level, we've heard a number of staffers say when you receive one letter or call, it represents from 1,000 to 1,500 opinions, of the people who don't get called. So there's a cascading impact. There's a focused impact. When even one voice is heard, it has a greater impact than just that one person.
I'm glad you said that, because having mentioned that, I mean, what struck me was the Southern California News Group. Generally, if you look at their Sunday editions, the letter section's a little bit bigger, and they'll have one letter on some different subjects that ran during the week. But they were the Sunday following that editorial, the entire letter section was a response to the editorial, and everyone was anti the editorial and pro golf. And we didn't do anything on that. I'll admit, maybe I should have done something during the week to gin up response. So that was a natural response. And elected leaders and their staffs take a look at something like that, and we're hoping they understand that maybe with the LA Times, which stated during the AB 1910 controversy, stated that while that bill merited a conversation, they listed about 8 other things that we should look at first. Beyond that, they stated that going after the green spaces, which they put golf courses in, was the wrong place to go. And then they made all of our arguments in that editorial that this is not country club golf. This is $38 average golf, and that for kids and seniors, it's half that price or less. So in a funny sort of way, having been attacked, we put out all those things that we know to be true about golf, but we had other organs, including the LA Times and so forth, that put these kinds of things out. And we discovered there's a lot more support for the game than we thought among legislative offices. Yeah,
I mean, there's been a great education process that's going on in the industry to get people out of their emotions and into the facts when they talk about golf. I'm just alerting everybody behind the scenes. We're going to need a little extra runway on this one because the conversation is too fascinating to cut it off at the usual time. So I want to go on to water rights. We're in the middle of the hottest period of time in the history of recorded time on Earth. Hottest summer, hottest days on record. Day by day, we break new records. Obviously, this affects water and water usage, which is so important to golf in California. Is that just sort of a constant battle for you? And where are you fighting that front right now?
We That's a very different kind of fight, because I wouldn't use the word fight. We approached more than 15 years ago most of the major water providers, both the retailers and the wholesalers, and in essence told them that we understand long term, for us to survive, we have to reduce our water footprint. We have to reduce it substantially over time. The only thing we asked of them was that we're a little bit more expert in the means to get to those ends. And that's been a very successful stance. And unlike maybe some others, we've approached it totally in a cooperative, collaborative manner. And that really provided dividends last year when there was a real panic. Mother Nature bailed us out this winter big time. We have to understand it that way. We won't count on that in the future. But we were facing some real deprivation. And we discovered that the 15, 16 years of working with water providers, working with districts, special districts, boards, and so forth, and with public utilities had earned us great credibility that they had some trust in us, but mostly they had trust in the fact that the policies we had asked them to implement over the years they know, because they bill us, they know our water use. It is substantially reduced, more so in the coastal zone than in some of the desert areas, but still substantially across the board. And with that credibility, that got us through some pretty tough times in a way that I think was, I always stated, we'll reduce the water. We just asked to do it in a way that's compatible with sound agronomic and business practices. So we've been, AB 1910 was a bit of a surprise to us, a shot across the bow. Water we've been working on for many, many years, close to 2 decades.
Right. And for those who haven't been keeping up with their Poor Richard's Almanac, the rescue from Mother Nature came from record snowfalls, I believe, over the winter this year, which led to record melts. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've done a lot of educational work in the difference between the Sierra snowpack, which periodically gets these wet years and bailed us out, and the Colorado Basin, which also got a bit of a bailout, but long term. The Colorado Basin has been over-allocated since 1922, and now it's reached a critical stage. The bailout of Mother Nature, even in the Rocky Mountains, enabled Arizona, Nevada, and California to come forward with a voluntary plan over the next 3 years that we can live with. But right now, the positioning for the permanent changes in 2026 are going on, and that's going to mean for all 7 states less water, and particularly for California and Arizona.
And that's a perfect segue to the Colorado Water Basin Summit being held in October of this year in Las Vegas. Is that going to be the focus of your work while you're there, to developing and implementing this long range vision and plan for this collective group of states affected by that water resource?
Yeah, the whole thrust of the whole reason for, and the NGCOA is taking the lead on this and putting it together, is to get everyone in those 7 states, and particularly the 3 lower basin states in Nevada, Arizona, and California, to recognize that permanent change is coming in a lot of policies and a lot of the allocations. And the federal government will oversee this to the point to make sure that we all come together. It should be very interesting having key negotiators on behalf of Arizona, Nevada, Southern California in the room at the same time, because we're aware their meetings are not entirely a love fest. I mean, these are discussions over a zero-sum game, or actually less than a zero-sum game, because those allocations are going to go down, and you're going to hear that different states have different views of how much they've done in the past and how much they plan to do in the future. Everything's separate, but you're going to hear from those key negotiators. Something we did in California last year to great effect. So it's a stating the problem very clearly for those who don't understand it, but also offering the solutions that are there too, through agronomists, the GCSA, the USGA Green Section, and so forth. So, and then I hope it's not a one and done, but we continue to do this education in the Southwest.
Well, yeah, I think of it as gold was to California in 1849, so water is to California and that entire region in the 21st century. It is the new precious commodity there. And you mentioned the collaborations that are going on. These are active collaborations between you and the other golf associations, aided by NGCOA, correct?
Yeah, the NGCOA took the lead just to add a day to TechCon. I'm feeling, I think this came up in January when I was at the business conference, the notion, how can we have a major conference in Las Vegas, Nevada, and not put this issue out there. So yes, I mean, involved with the NGCOA, the GCSA, the USGA Green Section, the Arizona Alliance for Golf, the California Alliance for Golf, the Southern California Golf Association. I'm sure I'm leaving some out, but it's been a massive collaboration. It's the way we've done these conferences in Southern California in the past, just sort of bringing everyone together. And everyone brings their own particular area of expertise. Some bring more resources in terms of actual dollars and cents than others, but that's not an issue. The key thing is, and we discovered this years ago in Southern California, really working together and standing together. So it's encouraging that I think a lot of people look at California and think there are things that maybe they're discomforted about that come out of there. But the one thing that maybe that comes out of California that they're learning about is that the way to approach that is to get out of our silos and work together, because we bring different constituencies and different skill sets to the problem. And that rather than we often talk about being a siloed or balkanized industry as if that's a weakness. And yet we're all sitting in the United States of America, which is one of the great examples in human history of out of many one, excuse me, I confused it. So in other words, and the whole idea of recognizing how you can actually have strength in a federated system. And I think this conference represents that sort of thinking. I think if you ask Ronnie Miles, and I would testify to it can be a tough thing to manage, but at the end of the day, it's harder to manage, but the results are oh so much better.
Well, I think with you and your colleagues, working for the industry, I think that there's you provide both a firewall and a pathway, to success and advancement in conjunction. Again, working together, working with larger interests in the community. I think it's essential work that you do, and I know that I'm not alone when I say thank you again for all that you do, and really look forward to seeing you in October. And if you have anything else you want to report before or after then, be sure that you let us know. We can get you back on.
Absolutely. And you confirmed something that I think I had heard about, that you are actually doing something with the Southern California Golf Association. I know that's been in the works for some time. And we had to get on this broadcast together for you to confirm it. So anyway, look forward to it.
As they say, so let it be written, so let it be done.
Okay. Thanks, Michael.
Beautiful. Great. Thank you so much for spending the time, my friend. Again, a real education. Much appreciated.
You're welcome, and thank you.
That's Craig Kessler, the Director of Governmental Affairs of the Southern California Golf Association. I truly, truly respect people who do this type of work. I'm around it all the time here in my hometown of Washington, D.C. People sort of hold some disdain about to folks who go out and talk to government people about how to craft legislation, how to bring issues to bear that legislators might not know about. And when it comes to golf, there is a lot of emotion out there, negative emotion and misconception about what the game is, what it does, what the industry is and does. But when you're talking about a significant part of the sixth largest economy in the world, that is the state of California, it is essential to have people like Craig Kessler and others out there doing the right thing. That was great, huh? Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with more Golf Business Live, powered by Supreme Golf. So get yourself a cold beverage, crunchy snack. We'll be here for you when you return. Michael Williams, we'll see you in a minute.
Supreme Golf is proud to be an executive partner of the NGCOA. And whether you're looking to drive recurring revenue with our market-leading public membership software or sell additional tee times on Barstool Golf Time and Supreme Golf at no cost, and where you control the data and the pricing, please reach out.
Welcome back to Golf Business Live, powered by Supreme Golf. I'm your host, Michael Williams. They kept me on after the break. Whew. So let's do house chat. In house chat, we get these conversations about things that are just super practical and have to do with your everyday life of trying to keep golf course open every day. It's not easy. We've established that. And one of the things that has been an issue, actually, for everyone for a long time, but it got especially dicey during and after the pandemic, is the idea of people getting good employees, retaining good employees, training good employees, all of these things. And fortunately, we do have some great people in our industry to help that burden become a little bit lighter. One of them is joining us today. Please welcome the career consultant at PGA of America Career Services, Keith Fisher. Keith, welcome to Golf Business Live. How are you, my friend?
Michael, I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me back here. Like you said in your intro, at least I got an invite back after last year, so I appreciate that.
Thanks. That's what I always used to say, is like, make sure that you behave good enough to get invited back. You'll know that you've done something good there. And I guess I'm telling my age because, I'm not reading off a prompter, because as soon as I need to read notes, the glasses go on. So I have some notes because we did talk last year, and we talked a lot about, the recruiting arm of PGA Career Services. So take us fast forward a year. How's that year been? What have you seen good? What have you seen bad? What have you seen?
So we're seeing a lot of good. That's one of the great things that I'm able to report back to, thanks to individuals like Dylan Gladney, who was on with us last year. Our recruiting team is some special individuals that we're able to work with day in and day out. We couldn't do our job as career services and as career consultants if we didn't have people. And that recruiting arm is helping us find those individuals to get into the industry and those that are interested. So we are actually at our highest level of associate enrollment since 2009 with the PGA of America right now. So associates are those that are going through the program to start to become a PGA professional down the road. And that program, had been kind of in a downturn, and we, over the last year and a half or so, have seen an uptick. And like I said, enrollment's up now to levels we haven't seen since 2009. So makes me feel old. That's the year I became a PGA member. But it's good that we're there. We're also seeing just the number of impressions, the number of people reaching out, interested in the golf industry as a whole. So obviously we're a little bit biased, right? We love people that want to become interested in becoming PGA professionals. Obviously PGA professionals can wear a ton of different hats, whether that is as a head golf professional and, kind of those traditional roles that we see PGA professionals, right? Instructors, coaches, head professionals, director of golf. But we're also seeing a lot of PGA professionals in the general manager space now. We're seeing PGA professionals in sales. We're seeing them in roles like what I have, and I'm fortunate enough to be a part of. So we are seeing an extreme interest in the industry. The industry is thriving. The industry is alive. And while the professional side can kind of argue and fight through, we'll let them talk about all of that. Yeah. The game here at home at our local facilities, I don't think has ever been stronger that I can remember. And it's driving interest in people that want to join the industry and work at the facilities.
That's really, really good to hear. And I know that's the feeling that we get, if you were to just, finger in the wind, try to assess what was going on in golf and hiring and the whole thing. That's sort of what you would come up with. But it's good to have someone who can actually quantify that and say for sure that that's what the case is. The other thing that was interesting to me in what you just said was that you have people doing jobs that they're not necessarily cubbyholed and pigeonholed in by training or experience. So I think it's really important that good people are hired and brought into positions that are different than their normal thing. Managers being turned into pros and turned into F&B managers and so forth. When we were here talking about this last year, we mentioned the job board. Can you give me a little update on what the job board has done and how that's helped with this whole effort?
Yeah, so the job board, we opened up the job board to allow individuals that aren't PGA professionals to fill out job preference profiles. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, look, we still hold near and dear those that are PGA professionals and those opportunities within that space. So, if you're looking for a PGA professional, you can designate, hey, PGA professionals only, and it kind of, it only allows those that are PGA professionals or associates to see those opportunities. Right. But again, we want this to be the job board for the golf industry. We don't just want to, like you said, pigeonhole ourselves into that it's just the head professional, general manager, director of golf. No, we want outside operations. We want kitchen staff. We want chefs. We want those job opportunities to be posted. So through this education campaign, through our recruiting efforts, we are driving people to the PGA job board, and they're filling out the job preference profile. And what that is, that's a profile that individuals are able to fill out and say, look, we're looking for an executive chef job at X amount of money in these individual places. And if an opportunity gets posted to the job board, they get an email the next morning saying, hey, here's all the opportunities that meet what you're looking for. And what that's done is it's driving more qualified individuals into these positions. It's allowing individuals to see a lot of different opportunities, and we're able to hit a wider audience. So from an employer side, that's great, right? Like, we're expanding out that employment pool and really hopefully helping them find the individuals that they're looking for to make their facilities a success.
Right. I mean, I love that. Bringing in new people, new ideas, new methods. This is where good ideas come from. They come from the people who just came into the room, not the people who've been in the room, the whole time. I think it's great to have new blood, fresh blood in the golf industry. And I just want to say that the golf industry is now becoming the golf entertainment industry more and more. And you see places like Top Golf. There's no doubt about the influence that particular enterprise and those that are going to be following after it have had on the game. What I want to ask is, you have a lot of people who are coming into the game, or we're hoping people are coming to the green grass game from Top Golf. People are trying to build that bridge for folks to come over and experience green grass golf facilities. Is there any thought about ways or any recruitment push to get people who are Top Golf employees or these golf entertainment center facilities to come over and become a part of the green grass world and bring that entertainment and hospitality expertise that they've learned there to the other types of facilities?
Yeah, I mean, look, the golf industry as a whole, it's a tiny industry, and I put Top Golf into the golf industry, right? Like you said, it's entertainment. I've always looked at it. If we're not engaging our customer one way or other, whoever that may be, whether we're at a traditional green grass or at a Top Golf, they're not going to return. And so, us as professionals, us within the industry, we all need to kind of coalesce together and kind of figure out the best way forward to ensure the success of all of our business opportunities. In terms of bringing those types of employees over, it's really relationship driven. We've got, I believe now, 27 career consultants across the country. We're going to have a full team of 7 recruiters across the country. Now, while it doesn't seem like a lot, 4 years ago, we didn't have any. So we fast tracked those. And we have individuals within the player engagement space as well that are field employees. There's give or take roughly about 65 total field employees out there that are creating these relationships on a day in and day out basis throughout the industry. And we're having these conversations. So it really does come down to it that, through a conversation that we might be having with a general manager of a Top Golf or, a food and beverage manager or somebody else, and they may be starting to talk like, hey, I've kind of hit my lifespan or kind of looking. Great. Have you looked at XYZ opportunity? We'd love to have you fill out a job preference profile. We'd love to get you into the circle, so to speak, and allow you to learn about the different opportunities that are out there within an industry that you obviously have a passion for.
Yeah, that's great. No, go ahead and continue.
No, that's perfect. So that's really what we're trying to do, is just create those relationships, right? Like if we can create those strong relationships throughout the industry, the recruiting kind of takes care of itself.
I get that. Yeah, I mean, I know that if I was a golf course operator and I was thinking about putting in something like Top Tracer, that next phase and enhancing my business, and I was looking for a general manager or somebody to run my facility, I may want to take a look at an assistant manager who's looking for, at a Top Golf location, who's looking to take a step up, because that guy knows a little something about how to make that thing work, in principle. So just saying. I want to sort of combine a couple of questions here on this next one, as you were forewarned. So one of the things we had talked about before was the idea of remote work being a thing, and the fact that you somehow have to find a way maybe to offer some of that in the golf business, although it is an in-person people business largely. And the other thing is the club pro dilemma. And I mean, by the dilemma, I mean the work-life balance. Because I know that I came to the game when that's, a 90-hour-a-week job, at least it is for the summer. And, people, don't see their kids, don't spend much time at home. It's tough physically and emotionally, all of those things. So I want to combine those to say, how are facilities dealing with providing the type of work-life balance that golf pros and frankly, all of their staff are looking for when it comes to more time for themselves, more time to be a whole person rather than just, in service to the facility?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways. I'll tackle the remote work first, and then kind of tie in the work-life balance.
Yeah.
From a remote work standpoint, it's tough if we're in an F&B side of things from a server aspect. Really, not a whole lot of opportunity there. You could potentially get creative though if you're trying to do some restocking of orders or different things. Potentially that can be done from home. Give them a certain time frame that it has to be done in a workable hour, and they clock in and out. So you got to look into different services there. From a golf professional standpoint, what we're seeing is some facilities have their assistant professionals or professional staff do a work from home day, and what they do is they're putting in all the names for the upcoming tournaments into a tournament software program. Mm-hmm. Whether that be your Golf Genius or Fortis or whatever it may, whatever system they may be using, they're throwing those names into the system and they're creating all of the scorecards and card signs, and everything's ready and prepared then for the next week or so. Basically they have a list of tasks that they have to do. So if they get up at 6:30 in the morning and decide to knock it out by 8 a.m., they kind of have a day where, yes, they're being paid, they're on call, but they may be able to go to the doctor. They may be able to go do, run some errands. They may be able to do the laundry, right? And just feel like they're getting kind of a little bit of their life back in that sense. Yeah. In terms of work-life balance, just overall, we're seeing a lot of facilities, and I'm going to speak specifically to the golf operations staff in this instance. And that is, we're seeing assistant professionals have a 5-day work week. We're seeing a weekend off a month, where they get Saturday and Sunday off for that month. We're seeing holidays rotated out where one assistant might be off for the 4th of July. We're seeing that also with directors of golf and head professionals too. Sometimes our head pros and director of golfs try to give a better work-life balance to their assistants on their back. And that's not necessarily what we're looking to try to promote. We feel like it should be possible for everybody to do. And from an education of an ownership group or board members or whoever it may be that's running the facility, let's look at what the expectations are on the staff. Does it have to be a 90-hour-a-week job? I would argue vehemently, no, it does not. Yeah. But is it going to be a 40-hour-a-week job? It can be. Probably more though, find a fine balance around 50 to 55 hours, depending on expectations and everything else. But if you expect your professional to be on site, sunrise to sunset, there's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many hours in the week. And what we've seen is we actually see productivity fall off. Right. I've seen a study that if you work over 50 hours, any time over that, you're as productive as you were at 40 because your productivity starts falling off because you're tired. And so to get the most out of your staffs, you got to start looking at, okay, do we increase staff? How do we schedule? Are there ways that we can maneuver our staffing structure to allow for a little bit of more time away, which at the end of the day, you get a staff that's re-energized, that's ready to come to work, that's ready to provide high levels of service to those customers and create a great golfing experience.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to get that question out to you because no less of a qualified individual to pose the question and talk about the issue than Seth Waugh did on one of our other episodes and spoke about this. So from you, sort of at the bleeding edge of the whole recruitment thing, it's good to get your thoughts on that. We just got a couple of minutes left. I did want to ask about, and name dropping all of your programs or as many of them as possible, the PGA Executive Search, which has shown real signs of growth. Talk to me a little bit about Executive Search and the success you've had there.
Yeah, executive search I think has grown. I believe it's like 120% over like the last 2 years, which is phenomenal, right? Like that's phenomenal growth. The reality of it is we hadn't been in that space all that much prior, and so we're really kind of starting to find our foothold. Look, again, we're biased. We think we're probably the best ones to kind of target and work with because we do work for the PGA professional. At the end of the day, we have the database of our professionals that we're able to access, able to utilize, but it does come down to those individual relationships that we have too. That's how we're able to go out and find qualified individuals. We're seeing real growth in the executive search space, mostly in the director of golf, head professional, and even in the general manager space as well, because we have seen a lot of our professionals transition into that general manager space. We're seeing clubs very open to that now. They're realizing golf's probably their biggest asset if they really kind of dig down to the facilities, and who better to run the whole facility than someone that understands their number one asset. In terms of our levels of service, again, like I said, it's just continued to grow, and we've continued to grow our team. So we're able to provide that hands-on assistance. And the thing is, though, we don't want to create a transactional relationship in this space. That's not our goal. Our goal is not necessarily to go out there and make the most money possible off of our searches. Our goal is relationship based. It's to create a partnership, not only for this search, but it's for the rest of the time available at those facilities with those owners, with those members, with whoever that we may be working with. We want to be there as a partner to help them succeed, to help their employees succeed, and to help their facilities be the best facilities they can be. So that's, I feel like, kind of what sets us apart from some others in that space, is that we truly are out there to create a lifelong partnership with these individuals.
Outstanding. Well, as the saying goes, nothing succeeds like success. And you have certainly had a bushel basket of it over the course of the last 12 months. We wish you nothing but more success for the year to come, this year and for years to come. Keith, thanks so much for joining us, and look forward to having you back to get more good news. And who knows, man, if this thing doesn't work out, I may be hitting you up for a gig too. Okay. So you can show me how to get on that website. Okay.
Well, we just don't quit your day job, Michael. That's all. That's the easiest time to find a job is when you have one. We'll just say that.
Sage advice, my friend. Thank you so much, Keith. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
You got it. That's Keith Fisher, career consultant at the PGA of America Career Services. I mean, they're doing stellar work over there, and we all need help. And again, finding and retaining good people. That's difficult to do. Sometimes maybe the hardest obstacle to overcome is the expectations that owners and operators have set for themselves, because they've worked so hard and done such good work and knew that it took 70, 80, 90-hour weeks to get their business standing up on their feet. And they may have a hard time as they maybe want to step away from the business, thinking that the only path to success is for the next person to spend 70, 80, 90-hour weeks. But that may not necessarily be the case. So it's good for people to be ready to turn up the reins, open their minds, and look for people who can get it done efficiently, quickly, in a quality way, the quality that you're looking forward to. And Keith and his colleagues are just the people to help you do that. So that just about brings us to the end. We have run out of fairway here. Thank you so much to our guests. Thanks as always to Harry and Taylor, who keep this ship moving from week to week. I thank you all for listening and watching. It is an absolute pleasure to do this. We will see you again on the next episode of Golf Business Live with Michael Williams, powered by Supreme Golf. Until then, I am Michael Williams saying, go out, hit some balls.